Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. I'm glad you're here. Today we've got a special 5 and 5 brought to us by my local buddy A to Z EDC over on Instagram. Give him a follow. He's a fantastic dude. He hooks me up with a lot of cool knives, and I've got a handful to show you here today. So before we get started, I do want to say thank you to all the channel members. Thank you guys and gals so much. And I want to say thank you to anyone who's had the time to come in to check out my knife and EDC content. If you like it, if you find it helpful, if you find it entertaining, if you just want to help me out. If you're so inclined, if you'll hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon, it will really help me out. So today, I wanted to go through 5 knives fast that are not going to be your everyday knives. What's going to make these knives different are not only their design, their designers, their makers, but these are all integral builds, i.e. the back spacer and the scales, or the majority of the scales, are all built as one piece. You don't have standoffs with scales. You got just one piece of titanium or one piece of material that's milled out to incorporate that pivot and that blade, just like this Pleroma, which is an older Elijah Isham design. Rest in peace, Elijah. But it is a very unique knife, a lot smaller knife than I expected it to be. It has got an M390 blade. It is strategically, scalpely, just slicing. I mean, it is therapeutically slicing without a doubt. Just a little razor blade, but a beautiful little knife. It is small and light. I would say when we talk about small, we look at it next to our Civivi Baby Banter. It's not much bigger than the Baby Banter. So if we were going to take them and look at them open, the little Pleroma is only going to be a good bit bigger when it's open because you've got all that blade. Let's see how it stacks up with that bug out. Little different shape, but it's going to be a little bit smaller than the bug out, but close to that bug out size. Very small package though in the pocket, very good clip, very nice integration. You can see the stops right here internally in that milled out, what's that say there? I can't read who the maker is there, but I know it's an Isham design. Has thumb studs, has a really nice sharpening choil, also has a deployment slot, and it is a great little integral that he let me check out that I've really been enjoying. And I wanted to show this as one of our 5 knives fast, but we'll call that one number 6, which will bring us to number 5. Number 5, when I first looked at this is the MBK XLC Integral. I did not think it was an integral. I thought it was just a MBK XL with a liner lock, right? But it's not. When you look at it a lot closer, you can tell that this is one single piece of titanium that then this entire piece is built out of. So there is no rear hardware except that clip hardware. This little bad boy operates on washers. It's a Ray Laconico design, very smooth, very gentlemanly, where the blade disappears all the way into the handle. You've got what I consider one of the most neutral profiles in the game. You don't feel the clip, that works very well. You can push button or you can light switch this ZDP 189 blade. Got Ray Laconico's signature there on the spine, MBK, and that's the only markings on the knife. I'm sure inside it's got a number marking, but you can see down in there where that milling took place to carve out that channel in there. Really nice lock bar. Again, on washers, feels like an absolute tank. Feels great in the hand. I would say this is more of a full-size knife. Probably going to be closer to the size of our Spyderco. But it's going to be thinner, more gentlemanly, and really well thought out. And a gorgeous, gorgeous integral. Gorgeous, well, I would consider this a gorgeous minimalistic integral. And this is the MBK XLC Integral. So as we move along, we come to a really cool knife that I wish it was a little darker so this tritium would show up, because it does have tritium thumb studs. This is the, what am I thinking here? It's the Prometheus Design Works Invictus. So it's not the Terrain 365 Invictus. It is the Prometheus Design Works, the OG original designer of the Invictus. And this knife, again, has tritium thumb studs. Very nicely done thumb studs, besides the tritium that lights up when it's dark. You've got this really nice jimping here on the blade. Wonderful place for your hand to rest, whether you use this forward choil. You've got this really nice dagger or spear point style blade. G10 handle with beautiful titanium back spacer. Basically body, because this is an integral too. This entire piece of titanium is milled out of one solid piece of titanium, and then you've got the G10 scales added onto that. You've got a perfectly balanced, perfectly centered M390 blade. I don't think we did any cutting with our MBK either, did we? This is going to be a thicker grind, a thicker blade, but it's going to be a harder use blade. It's going to be a pokey, stabby blade. It's going to definitely be a slurpy saver blade. Let's cut with our MBK before we get too far behind. Much thinner grind. But the Invictus has always been one of my favorites. I've loved the Terrain Invictus, the Prometheus Design Works, the actual designer of this knife. I love theirs. They're in M390 instead of that Teravantium, which I kind of prefer having it be in a traditional blade steel. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. But the reverse flick's money. The thumb flick is positioned perfectly. The ergonomics are great because you've got both this grip, whether you want to call it a fighting grip, or you've got this finesse grip with this little spoon in the blade. Just works very, very well. And this is the Prometheus Design Works Full Integral Invictus. So moving on, as we creep around, we come up to this big beast. And this is a beast of a knife. This is probably the biggest integral, definitely in this collection, and probably the biggest integral I've ever held. This is the Reate Jack. The Reate Jack is a full-size knife, as you guys will see when I put it up next to the Cold Steel 4MAX. Right around the same size as the Cold Steel 4MAX. It has got a super thick, aggressive M390 drop point, spear point blade, internal frame lock with brass bolsters, flipper action that's dialed and sounds like a vault going off, whether I push button it or whether I light switch it. Fills my hand completely, gives me a choil and several places to choke up on the knife. I've absolutely fallen in love with this knife, even though it seems so much bigger, especially with the brass scales, than it needs to be. But I think that's one of the things that makes it alluring, because it is such a big knife that's tuned so well. The handle just drops away, or the blade drops away in the handle. You don't have the greatest access to the lock bar, but you can go straight for it. but just an absolute thunder. Perfectly centered as all these integrals are. And then you can look at the titanium millwork that goes around encompassing this whole knife, and then these copper scales would come off. You could take them off, and then you would go from there to get to your blade and your further disassembly. So just really a unique knife, one I really like, a big one I didn't think I'd like that much, but this is the Reate Jack, and it is another integral coming in at number 3. Which brings us to number 2. And when I was looking at number 2 and number 1, it was a very hard pull. But since these aren't really top 5 in that order, they're all just 5 really cool ones. This is the Vero Knives Isotope. The most unique, the most luxurious Vero in production, full integral, done by Bestech. This one has nice micarta inlays. It's got M390 blade. It's got a rear flipper tab, if that's your jam. It has got a serial number, number 292. And then it also has, not for the thumb side's smooth on your show side, but on your clip side, you've got your finger divot, which for me makes it just perfect. I love this knife. It's longer than my Axon. It's more of a full-size knife, but it is absolutely a slicey beast. Feels great in the hand. Again, I love the way an integral feels in the back of my hand, and when it feels and has rounded soft corners on the underside, it's just that much more of a win. And this knife absolutely does. It has major bite all day long. Super slicey, super well tuned, perfectly centered. Clip works great. The flipper tab's low profile and works well. I'll miss it every now and then because the jimps are there. It's just so low profile. But by having this reverse flick on the lock side, really makes this knife come to life. Really makes it a joy to extenuate or to open, and joy to carry. I love the pokey drop point clip. I love the Vero engineered design. I love the integral styling. Love just about everything about it. So yeah, coming here at number 2, we've got the Vero Isotope, which brings us to one final knife that A to Z let us use. The one I've been carrying since it came in. This is the Reate Spyderco Paysan. Guys, this is a knife that has always been kind of a Spyderco grail to me, but one that never really spoke to me. It is an integral Taichung, Taiwan made knife with an S90V blade. This one's got a lower grind on it. Super, super slicey. Starts with really thick blade stock and comes down with the Scandi grind to just a really sharp, keen edge. You've got super nice jimping both for your thumb and for the palm of your hand. The only downside I find to this knife is the access to the lock bar could be a little easier to get to. It is pretty thin in there and kind of tight. And in that same vein, this isn't a complaint, this is just something I notice. You feel the lower part of the knife in your hand when you're holding it, when you're doing a lot of cuts. Just because it's a little bit less rounded, right? It's not a negative. It's not a bad thing. It's just something to be noted. But this knife is absolutely fantastic. It's as good as I could have ever dreamed it would be. It works great with the reverse flick, with the thumb flick, or the way I really like to open it, with just a simple thumb roll. Locks up about 33%. Does have a perfectly matched Lynch clip, deep carry clip on it, and I think it's just an absolute stunner. So today's 5 fast guys are unique in that they're all integrals and they all belong to my buddy A to Z EDC. Integrals are not, well, I guess they are rarer because they're more expensive to produce, therefore they cost more to sell. Therefore, your market for them becomes less. But there's something so cool about an integral and the thought that goes into making it. And I see the extra value in them. I think they're super cool. I've got a couple that have unibody constructions from Liang Ma. They're not true integrals, but they use some of the same engineering. And I find them just fascinating, guys. So here 5 fast, actually 6 if we count the Wii integrals. I'll list them out for you there in the description. I appreciate y'all taking the time to watch the video. I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a great weekend and you be up at every chance you get. And please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart and choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.